Welcome to the 2-Point Conversion Coaches Show. I am your host, Brandon Hurley with the Jefferson Herald. And as usual, we are always joined by Greene County head football coach Mitch Moore. But today we have a very special 2-point conversion for you. We are joined by Bryce Hoyle and Trey, Hinote, both seniors of the Greene County Rams, 8-1. And in the playoffs, today is our playoff spectacular episode, little special episode for you. And yes, the Rams are back in the playoffs for the first time since 2014. But before we get going and dive deep into the playoff game, we'd like to thank our sponsors, of course, Dock Stadium Bar and Grill on the Jefferson Square, and Tech Zone, also on the Jefferson Square. So without them, we wouldn't be where we are today. So before we get into the playoffs, I'd like to recap just last week's huge win over OABCIG. They were ranked 10th at the time, and boy, did Greene County come out big and won 49-6. They at one point had, I believe, was it a 42-0 lead on them? Yeah, they led 28-0 at half, and this was a team who was coming off a week prior beating district champion Kemper by 30. So everybody probably was thinking it would be a close game, but it was not. Greene County dominated in every facet of the game. Their defense was strong as usual. The offense almost had 500 total yards. Brent Riley had 283 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. He hooked up with Lance Hughes a couple times for 2 touchdowns. He had 164 yards, and he also had a fumble recovery. Trey had a touchdown. Colby Kafer had a touchdown catch. The defense was stellar as always, holding OABCIG's quarterback under 100 yards under his average. He only had 1 touchdown, and it was a garbage time touchdown, so that doesn't even really kind of count. It was just an overall dominating win, and the win solidified your guys' playoff chances. You guys got into the playoffs with that win. So let's just kind of start with that. I think because you guys got in the playoffs, I think that kind of validates what you guys did this year. This is for anybody. You guys can answer it. What kind of were your emotions after you won that game and once you guys found out you were in the playoffs?
You start.
It was senior night, so there was a lot of emotion that week going into the game Friday, but we knew what was in store with the win. After the win, it wasn't so much what a typical senior night would be with tears and all that good stuff. Everyone was excited, but knew that Sunday we had to come back and have a focused practice, prepare for this week.
So, yeah, Trey, let's go off that a little bit. What do you think? You guys started out really strong. I mean, like I said, you had a 42-0 lead on a top 10 ranked team. So what do you think was the key there to having that quick start and just getting right on top of them?
It's kind of a tribute to what Coach always talks about in our preparation throughout the week. And Bryce talked about how it was senior night. And Coach tried to get all that stuff out by Wednesday. And after Wednesday, it was strictly OABCIG, OABCIG.
It's a tough team to say. Heck, I don't even know all the towns, so you're good.
Just from preparation, we watched a lot of film every week, so we knew what to expect, and we knew it happened. It's just a lot of other people didn't know that happened. So.
Yeah, so going off that, Mitch, were you expecting your guys to get out to a hot start like that in the way they did on Friday?
Well, I certainly thought, we always talk about confidence and preparation, and it was as good as a week we had from Tuesday practice. I think I told you earlier in the week it was our best Tuesday practice of the year, followed by probably our best Wednesday practice. We were locked in on Thursday. We had great focus on Friday. So, I knew going into Friday at kickoff that our team was as prepared as we had been all year. We continue to get better. We continue to take every day, one day at a time, every week, 1 week at a time. We're never looking ahead. We never get behind the chains in terms of looking at what we did in the past. And so this team, and a credit to these guys in this senior class for just setting the tone from a leadership standpoint and saying this is what we got to do every day to get better. And the credit goes to these guys in this class for doing that. And we came out on Friday, we rode the momentum wave, and we got momentum early in the game. And then, we're an energy team, and we're an exciting team to watch. We play with a bunch of passion and energy, and I preach that I've preached that since day one. We're not going to play the game of football just to go out there and lay down. We're going to play with a bunch of energy and play with passion, and we were able to do that. And then, I don't want to discredit above all things is we're a talented football team. And I think that I don't know that I think people think we've got great work and we've got great work and consistency in this program, but we've got a lot of talent. And I think that's really helped us this year is when we match up against a team that was the most prolific offense in 2A, they had not played a team with that kind of talent like we have on the edge. It started with Trey and Xavier on the edge at D-back, they took those receivers out of the game. And then with Bryce and Miller and Brock and those guys on the D-line, that coaching staff, I got an opportunity to speak with the Falcon coaching staff a little bit this week. They didn't think that we were going to get to their quarterback as fast, and certainly didn't think we were going to do it with a three-man front. And so, I just think that above everything that we talk about, we've got a lot of talent, and then we add a consistency to our approach and great work ethic, and we're a dangerous football team right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about those defensive changes. This is for either you, Bryce, or Trey. You guys did go to that three-man front. So what was it? Obviously, you guys had a lot of success going to that transition, but how was it transitioning to that defense? You guys think you'd handled it pretty well, and was it pretty easy doing that?
I think it was easy transition just because, every week we get packet of defensive stuff, where we're lining up, what situation. It goes back to watching film, We break down film so far that in certain situations we know there are only two options of plays that they can run. And so that helps, breaking everything down and to a standpoint where we know what's going to happen before it happens, or we have an idea of where they're going with their play calls. So. Yeah,
and you guys going out that you guys never let up really at all. I mean, you had a 28-0 halftime lead, and then you guys kept piling on. So, Trey, what do you think was the key to keeping that success going and not letting your foot off the gas pedal and making sure that you got that W?
A lot of that was just because last game we really all played well together.
Mm-hmm.
Like from the wide receiver standpoint, everybody ran the routes hard. And because I ran my route hard, that got Lance open for a fade ball. And Carter runs his route hard, then Lance got another chance. So a lot of that's just a tribute to everyone it was a cohesiveness. We all played well together. So.
Yeah, so speaking of that cohesiveness, both you and Trey have kind of moved around at times this year, and you moving to DN and you playing some defense. So this question is for both of you. What has it been like kind of changing positions a little bit during your senior year, making a little different?
I don't see it as so much of a change as I understand that I'm going to be moving there for a reason, and that's what's best for my team. It's not all about me. I have to, there might be some adversity into it, but we've preached that since day one. It's how you respond. And I knew if I need to go to DN to make our team better, then that's what I was going to do, and I was going to do it to the best of my ability.
Yeah, so Trey, you've been playing more defense this year, so has it been fun for you being on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, it's a lot more fun because I'm a guy. Whenever coach takes me out, I kind of look at him like, what? Don't take me out, coach. So I like to stay on the field, so it wasn't really that hard of a change just because just our preparation throughout the week. We get so many reps at that, and I just kind of learn it as I go. So.
And I'll say this, Brandon, is these two guys on the left and right of me, it takes some unselfishness, and it takes some believing in the team and believing in the unit and believing in the coaching staff. And both these guys have done as good as anybody at doing that. And Trey will tell you, Trey was a first-team all-district receiver last year that we asked him to step back a little bit, that and roll, because we knew at times he was going to be double covered and we're going to get the ball to the guy on the edge. But Trey, if you run your route as hard as you can, other guys are going to be open. On the flip side of that, we're going to ask you to be a guy on defense is going to play man coverage, and you're going to have to run your tail off from start to finish in a game. And he stepped in and not batted an eye one time. I might take him off the field here and there, and he might give me that awkward look every now and then, but I'm doing that so he can regain his win and get back on the field. And then this guy right here, he's been a motor from the start of every game to the finish of every game, and so he allows us to play DN, D-tackle, a stand-up, down in a three-point, and do a bunch of things that make him multiple. And the more multiple we can make our defense, I kind of going off what John Haycock's doing at Iowa State, it's not this old-fashioned 4-3 or 4-2-5. You've got to be a multiple defense. You've got to give multiple looks and put your guys in multiple situations and be more of a matchup problem. Offensively, for the last 10 years, everybody's adapted. Where are we gonna put our playmakers so that we can get them the ball? Well, defenses are starting to adapt like that. Where are we going to put our playmakers on defense so we can get to the ball? And these guys have been two guys that have been really allowed us to do that.
And yeah, and that point exactly is something I wrote about in my column this week. Being able to adapt and not be stuck in your guys' way, I think is something that has separated you guys from other teams. I mean, you're not stuck on just running a certain running offense. You're not stuck in a certain base defense.
Sure.
You guys will adapt. And, I mean, you guys adapted the last 3 weeks. You adapted in the Atlantic game, and I think that's kind of a turning point right there. Those last 9.5 quarters, I mean, you guys have only given up 20 points.
Yeah.
So being able to adapt has been huge for you guys.
No question.
So I guess staying with that defense, you guys both play the defense a lot. You guys are only giving up about eight points a game. You still hold guys under 100 yards rushing a game. So is that a point of pride for you guys to be able to continue to be up at the top of the state, but then adding on to that, you shut down one of the best offenses in the state. So was that kind of a pride point for you guys on Friday to realize, hey, we are as good as our stats are?
Yeah, it always feels good being able to give the offense some momentum, knowing, hey, they can trust us. We got their backs. We're going to hold these teams to the lowest yards possible, lowest points on the board. And, it gives the offense a confidence that, they don't have to try to keep up scoring points. We put together good drives, and I don't know, I think that's part of the pride in it, just being a person that plays both sides of the ball. You get both feels of the game. Yeah,
and Trey, the offense has really come together the last couple of weeks too. So what do you think has been some of the key points that you guys is taking a lead and holding that lead and keeping going?
Offensively, I'd say the offensive line, they've done such a good job pass blocking and just regular blocking. I don't know what you call it. Run blocking. Regular blocking. But they've kind of they've controlled the line of scrimmage, and that if you control the line of scrimmage, there's a good chance you're going to win the game. So as far as that, then Colby and Clint, both great backs, and they kind of take over the game, and that opens up things on the outside too. So it all comes together. It's like the teamwork thing I talked about at the beginning. So
yeah, it really does. And Mitch, do you have anything else to add to why the offense has been so successful these last few weeks?
Well, exactly what Trey said. It's been a collective effort, and Trey didn't talk about. We've got 3 wide receivers that you can't really man up. I mean, you can't man up on Cole or on Carter, on Lance, on Trey, and you've got to play a zone coverage to him. And then on top of that, Brent Riley has stepped up his game in terms of preparation and understanding our offense more, and he continues to get better as a junior quarterback.
Now we'll turn our attention to Friday's playoff game. Greene County got the 10th seed in the 2A playoffs. They traveled to number 4 Benton Community. They'll play in Van Horn on Friday at 7 p.m. Benton is 8-1. They won the District 7 title. They're kind of a run-heavy offense. They feature one of the top backs in 2A, Mike Davis. He's up there around 1,400 yards. He's pretty talented. And then on defensively, they're about second in the state in total sacks. They have a guy with 9 sacks. So we'll start just kind of before we break into Benton. I kind of asked this question a little bit at the beginning, but how does it feel for you guys to finally be in the playoffs and preparing for a playoff game? What's that feel like for each of you?
It's obviously a special moment. No one on our team has ever been in this position before. But also, at the beginning of the year, this is what we expected. We knew our goal, we set our goal, and we're chasing our dream. So we knew what it was going to take, and we're not going to change anything that we do during the week. We're going to work hard, stay focused, have good attitude and effort, and we're going to break down film like we always do.
Do you have anything to add to that, Trey? No, he said it pretty well, didn't he?
He killed it.
Yeah. So, Mitch, when you first found out that you guys were playing Benton, initially what was kind of your first thoughts of Benton Community once you had a chance to look at the film?
Well, certainly they're a downhill football team. They like to hit you in the mouth, play smash mouth football. We've been in a couple of those games before. We got an experience with that with Red Oak. I thought Gilbert was kind of had that same mantra going into the football game. Perry was a team like that was going to run downhill at you and try to be physical with you. So we've had some of those games this year leading up to this game. They're a well-respected program. Coach Goodchild is a tough coach. I know he coaches his teams hard. He's multiple in his running attack, and I was just excited. I think it's a team that presents a great challenge with a proud tradition. They're a community and a school district that's similar to ours, and just the dynamic of the school district and the towns that all come in to make one Benton community, just similar to Greene County. And again, it's a challenge, a team that we have not seen a lot on tape, but they've got some familiarity with some of the teams that we've played in terms of kids that we've been around. They played the West Marshalls, they play the Rolling Stories. Coach Hadachek at Union I know pretty well, and had opportunity to kind of pick his brain about these guys a little bit. But, at this point in the season, Brandon, everybody's a good football team. And so when you turn the tape on, you're going to find a good football team. They're physical, they're strong, they're tough. I would say that we are tough and I'd say that we're physical, and I'd say that we're developing strength within our program, and I would say that we're a pretty fast football team. So I think they've got some strengths, we've got some strengths. We're really darn good on defense. They're really darn good on offense. I think we've got a really good offensive attack. I think they've got a good defensive attack. So I mean, there's something's going to have to break in the football game, and Bryce said it. Our preparation this week hasn't changed at all. I didn't do anything. I didn't go into this week and say we got to do a bunch more, because that wouldn't be. I would be counteracting on what I've been talking about and preaching all years. We've got to take care of what we do, and we've got to develop a consistency about us. And so that didn't change when we got into the playoffs. I'll tell you this: when you go home at night, I think we probably all think about the game a little more than we did maybe just normally. I don't think it's left our mind all week, because this is what you play for in high school football, is a chance to play for your community and for these kids and these families, and represent your school on Friday night in late October. So we're really excited, but again, we're not letting the emotions of the week get ahead of us, and we're just taking every day the way we've approached it all year.
Yeah, so you mentioned those strengths in their running back. Obviously, your guys' strength is run defense. So, Trey, their running back, he's a kind of a, like Mitch was saying, he's a one-cut running back, and he likes to hit the hole, and he has some speed to him. So what do you think you guys need to do on defense to slow him down on Friday?
For one, we got their offensive line does a really good job of getting to the next level. Mm-hmm. So, we just got to get chips on them and be able to fight off blockers. Nick Breon and Clay Smith got to have huge games for us, fill gaps. Because if you get this guy going east and west and side to side, he's just an average guy. Coach has talked about all week. So just play our game, and I think we should be all right.
So they also throw the ball, too, a little bit. So what are you expecting them through the air a little on Mitch?
Well, he's an efficient quarterback. He's throwing for about 66% throughout the year. He's got a lot of bubbles. They do some screenplay. They do some tight end delay stuff, and so they make the passing game very efficient, and they don't try to go out of their means and do things that they're not accustomed to doing. And their pass is set up by their run. And so if we can make them a one-dimensional team somehow and really stop the run and fill our gaps and make the running back get east and west as opposed to north, they'll probably have to do some things that are uncharacteristic to what they do in the pass game. And if we can do that, I think the advantage is on us. Now, if we get in a dogfight and it's a downhill smash mouth football game, we're gonna have to really buck up and see what we can do. But again, I think through what we've done in the last year in our strength and conditioning, I think we've put ourselves in positions to play in games where we have to dogfight.
So as we move to their defense, what do you guys expect from their defense, and how do you think you'll have success offensively on Friday?
I win the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
It's that simple. It's the same people that play on their offensive line. They're probably one of the biggest alignment average that we've seen. They're stronger than what we've seen most of the year, and according to film, they're physical. They want to get in your mouth, and so offensive line, we win the line of scrimmage. We can run the ball. We can pass the ball. Give Brent time back there. He's a smart enough quarterback that he knows his reads, and I think maybe that their secondary maybe isn't the strongest that we've seen all year. So as long as we give Brent time and the routes develop and everything will go our way.
Yeah, so talking about Brent, this is his first year starting, and he's really kind of come into his own the last couple of weeks. So Trey, as a senior, what has it been like watching him grow as a player and start leading your offense a little more?
It's been awesome just because everybody knows that he could be a great quarterback, and he's gotten better each and every game, and a lot of that is just confidence-wise, and he's learning the game more and stuff, and our playmakers they're making plays, so that gives him confidence too. So you get Carter and Lance the ball, and they'll make a great play, and then gives Brent he's like, oh, I can get him the ball again, and then they're making another great play, and a lot of that starts with our running backs too and our own line, because they open up all that stuff, and Brent's done a pretty good job the last few games, especially making the right reads and getting the right people the ball when they need it. So.
And I think part of and a lot of Brent's success too is we're pretty fortunate, as the head coach, is to have guys like Cole Jaskey on our staff, and certainly Coach Hansen and Coach Morton and those guys in the offensive staff is attributed to a lot of the success of our offense. But Coach Jaskey was a fantastic college quarterback. He's a smart kid, or smart man that has done just a great job. He's developed as a coach. Last year was his first time ever coaching. He played at a high level, and he was a really, really good quarterback. But coaching football, it doesn't matter if you were a bad player or a good player. It's a different beast. And Coach Jaskey has grown. I've seen him grown from the start of the year to the end of this year in how he calls a game and how he prepares and how he's leading Brent. And so for us as a program, I'm really fortunate. We're really fortunate as a program to have a guy like Coach Jaskey who's played, and now he's starting to understand how to coach offense and how to call plays. And then a guy like Brent, who's now in his hip pocket more and understands, hey, I gotta be around Coach Jaskey more. I gotta understand what he's wanting to do in a game and what his game plan is. And so all those things, as we continue to develop as a program and certainly as an offense, Coach Jaskey's the head of that thing, and he's the guy he's the master behind Brent's our prolific passing game that we have. And so a lot of that credit's we got to give to Coach Jaskey too.
And I think personally that going off of Coach Jaskey, and his preparation for the game is just amazing. Mm-hmm. The other day was a defensive-only practice, going over our defensive stuff. Well, after practice, Jaskey's in here and calls our offense in. And after practice, everyone comes in for an extra 20 minutes just to get another edge on Benton and figure out, what more we could do offensively. So yeah. I think that's something that he's done it's really impressive over this year.
Yeah, you guys make some great points. I think the whole program as an entity has really grown this last year. I mean, We talk about the players and how much you guys have really excelled, but I mean, you can definitely tell that the coaching staff has come together a lot more, and I think that's another key to your guys' success, that everybody has grown, and that's why you guys have taken this next step.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if it's a football program or it's any type of organization. When I got here a year ago, I didn't know any of these guys. They didn't know me, and so we've all become such a close group as a staff, and I think that I was talking about with Coach Morton today is how cohesive our staff is. We've got a staff that we're all great friends. We all talk all the time. We have lunch together. We have dinners together. We're with each other in the mornings at 5 a.m. and at night these kids are at home already, and we're just sitting in a circle and just talking. And a lot of times it's about football, but sometimes it's about our families, and sometimes it's about what's going on in work. And so as we continue to grow as a staff, and that consistency and continuity as that grows, certainly in times of pressure situations, in times of adversity, it's a lot easier to lean on each other, and it's a lot easier to trust the guy next to you. Whereas sometimes last year I felt, and this is blame on me, but I felt like I've got to do this. I got to do it myself. Well, now I don't feel any of that. I feel like I need to go to Coach Jaskey when I need some advice. I need to go to Coach Hansen. I need to go to Coach Morton and Coach Pollock and Coach Connor. And I mean, the list goes on. And that's because of the trust we've built into this last year. And it starts with being around each other, working. We all trust each other that we're all going to get the job done. And so that's helped our program grow.
Yeah, I think that's some fabulous insight right there.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to just stay on that team cohesiveness for a few more minutes. I know I talked to Trey after the game, and he talked about the family aspect of your guys' team. I mean, you guys are always texting each other, all hanging out at each other's houses. So Bryce, how do you think that enhances the product on the field for the fact that you guys are so close?
We all feel that we can lean on each other when we need. If we're in a hard time, we had a rough day at school, we know that going to the locker room before practice, we all just have a good time, and everyone's mood changes. We talk about if something's wrong, that I can go to Trey if something's wrong. It's just the trust and the bond that we have with each other. It's just like we're a big family, and it's just a brotherhood.
So we'll turn our attention back to Friday's playoff game. Obviously, you guys have never been in a situation like this. You guys, it's been a long time since the Rams have been in the playoffs, 4 years, and a Ram team hasn't won a playoff game since 2009. So what have you guys kind of done on the field, away from the field, to temper kind of your emotions and keep level-headed, even though you are going to go in the playoffs for the first time? Trey, you can go ahead and answer this one.
Honestly, Coach kind of keeps our head on head on straight. So we try to stay away from the emotional side of it because we treat it as another, like we've been playing the last few games as is a playoff game. We talk about it every week. So just the consistency to our preparation every week, it just doesn't change. And this week we've literally done the same exact thing that we've done the last few weeks. So nothing's any different. So
I got after him on Tuesday and Wednesday just like I did every Tuesday and Wednesday, didn't I?
That's true.
yeah.
I think, especially on Thursday and Friday nights, Coach always talks to us about learning how to control your emotions. And a lot of it, Friday, we have a resting period, a time where, people treat it differently, rest your mind, focus on the game. But we all know when it's time to turn it up and when it's time to put our emotions into it, because if we're all just worked up over the game for an entire day, that's just wasting energy that we could use out on the field. So I think that's another point.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And I mean it's really noticeable the last 2 weeks. I mean, you guys have really come out right at the start and jumped on Red Oak and OABCIG. So I think you're right. I mean, you guys do know when to turn it on, and it showed on the field.
Yep. And we're continuing to learn how to, like, and Bryce said it, is control our emotions and when to turn it on and when to be even keel and learn how to ride momentum, and our guys have just done a great job. And I know it sounds crazy, but we practice that. I mean, and that's how our strength and conditioning set up, and that's how our summer workouts are set up. And we've got times where you've got to turn it on. There's times where you've got to teach and learn and listen, and there's times when you've got to learn to help each other and learn to be leaders. And so leadership is something that we have hit home on every single day since the end of last year. And I think what we did last year at times is we were really big on leadership in the summer, and then that went away. And these guys will tell you, yesterday I had a thing on leadership and a thing on leaders of their certain domains, and it wasn't football. It was just something else, and it gives us an opportunity to self-reflect. And I think as you look at the great programs across college football, that's where I think they've gained the edge on other programs, is just their ability to self-reflect, self-evaluate, their ability to know themselves. And these guys, as they mature into great young men, I think that's what they've done so good. That's what the senior class has done so good, is learning who they are as individuals, learning how they can become better leaders, and then learning how them as leaders can affect the other younger kids in our group. And so when they set the tone for how a Friday should look, how a Thursday should look, how a Wednesday morning should look. I mean, you can say until you're blue in the face, you can't be tired when you come in here at 6 in the morning, but you are, and you're tired when you wake up and when you get in here, but then you got to learn how to turn it on. You got to learn how to have great body language so that permeates throughout the program. And these guys have just done a fantastic job of being able to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that you guys made. So one final question here. As the playoff game approaches, Friday night's game in Van Horn, I'll ask each of you, what do you think is a key to victory? And I'll start with Trey, and then we'll go to Bryce, and then we'll wrap it up with Mitch. What do you think you guys need to do to win on Friday?
Bryce already kind of talked about it, is control the line of scrimmage. And we gotta come out and punch them in the mouth first and play with a lot of confidence and energy. And that energy will just all carry over, because one person gets excited, everybody gets excited. And our sidelines, they've done such a great job. They keep the energy up. They're not on the sidelines clowning around, and they're always into the game and engaged. So, and that all starts with the coach. The coaches have been great about that too, and we're all so organized, and it all plays a part in it. So,
I think consistency, especially on Friday. We have another drive like we did for Red Oak, but I think we have to control our emotions. That's a big key. We know we have a long trip ahead of us going to play, but we've been in that position before. We know what it's going to be like. Another part, I think, is that we have to go out there and set the tone right away. Last week was the first week. I think it was the first week that we came out, we scored first within our first drive. And then second half, we come out and we put more points on the board in the third quarter, which, for a while in the earlier part of the season, we kind of struggled with that, getting started slow, coming out of second half with that break, getting started slow in the third quarter. But, after last week, we understand that we can do that. And so with that confidence, with us now, we got to go out there Friday night. We have to set the tone. We all have to do our job, not be selfish, trust the guy next to us, and play hard.
And so coming around to you, Mitch, do you have anything to piggyback off that, and what do you think a key for you is?
I think similar to the Red Oak game is we've got to match their physicality and prove that we're a physical football team too, and we certainly are. And then I think, just great communication on the offensive side of the ball, great communication on the defensive side of the ball, great communication within our staff and our program, and make sure that both offensive staff and defensive staff are being able to relay that to our players, and vice versa. Our players, when they come off the field in their little 30-second glimpses, these guys don't get much time off the field. They've got to be able to communicate to us, hey, what's going on? What can we do different? And then at some point in the game, there's going to be some adjustments need to be made, whether that's in any of the three phases of the football game, special teams, defense, or offense, and we've got to be able to make some adjustments, and it starts with communication. I think that one of my mentors, or one of the guys that I read about a lot, and the programs I read about a lot, is Duke basketball. Not that I'm even really a big fan of it. I like how they operate and what they do. And Coach Krzyzewski talks about it in every book. Everything you read about them is that they communicate as a whole better than most programs that they've played in 25 years. And I think we're developing that. Our guys can communicate and learn how to effectively communicate. Some guys need to be yelled at. Some guys need to just say, calm down and let's do it this way. And so as our seniors and player-driven leadership will dictate this, but if they can effectively communicate on Friday night, that'll give us a good opportunity to win this football game.
Yeah, you definitely can't go wrong with Duke basketball and Coach K. I mean, I'm not a fan of Duke, but if Coach K can bring us a gold medal, then he's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, so we could go on for quite a while. I know I could. I don't know about you guys. I could talk about this football game forever and ever, but we probably should wrap it up here. If you want to watch some awesome playoff football on Friday, head out to Van Horn as the 10th-seeded Greene County Rams take on 4th-seeded Benton Community at 7 o'clock. Thanks guys a ton for joining me, Bryce, Hoyle, Trey, Hinote, Mitch Moore. It was a blast, and hopefully we get a win on Friday.
Sure.
Thanks a lot.